This is the E-commerce Brain Trust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our brain trust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Welcome to the E-commerce Brain Trust podcast. I'm Julie Spear, Head of Retail Marketplace Services at Acadia, alongside my co-host, Jordan Ripley, Director of Retail Operations, also here at Acadia. Today, Jordan and I are joined by two special guests, Tim Wilson, CRO of ProductWind, which is a retail influencer marketing platform that helps launch and grow products organically online. And we also have Ken Beemer, who has been a guest on the podcast before. He's our Director of Retail Client Growth, also at Acadia. Ken helps oversee partnerships, and he also helps our clients find ways to expand and grow their businesses across channels. I'm excited to have both Tim and Ken on for a conversation today to talk through the evolution of ProductWind, why we here at Acadia see it as such a critical component of retail readiness, some of the real results we've been seeing, and best practices that brands can apply for launching products successfully on e-com channels. So with that long intro completed, welcome Tim and Ken. It's great to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Excited to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to chat ProductWind today. Tim and I have got to know each other quite well over the last few months, so we're excited to have this episode today.
Tim, we joke on our team about how much Ken is a fan of ProductWind. So I know he will be an enthusiastic participant in this conversation. We all love ProductWind, but there is a special passion that Ken holds for it. So just buckle up. It's going to be.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Ken, I'll make sure I get you those floor seats for the Kentucky basketball game.
I appreciate that, as discussed. Thank you.
You know his love language. Well, before we get into what ProductWind does and what we're kind of digging into today specifically, the company has been around for about 5 years now. It's 2025, so it's been around since 2020. Many of our listeners might be hearing of ProductWind for the first time. Can you talk a little bit, Tim, about how it came about in the early days?
Yeah, so ProductWind got started during COVID. Our founder is a guy named Jason Kowalski. Jason's a great guy, super smart person, Ivy League, Fulbright scholar, that whole thing. And he spent about 5 years at Amazon on the product side when he was at Amazon. And one of the things that happened when he was there is he's the person who actually wrote the vision and the requirements for automating a lot of promotions. So what happened is before he created this capability inside of Amazon, if brands wanted to run a promo or do anything special with their listing, they would call into Amazon, talk to somebody in a very agency-centric kind of way. That person would work with the brand, and then they would run the promo or do whatever it was that they were happening. And he was like, "Why? This seems crazy." So he's the person that actually created the self-service capability for all of you listening to be able to go in and set down, run different types of promotions and deals on your listing. That's what Jason created. And he told me the intention of that was to save Amazon a bunch of time and man hours and work, but it actually led to a whole bunch of revenue. He did that, and then he also ended up working more closely at kind of some of their first foray into influencers, working with the largest brands in the world, watching them spend ungodly amounts of money. And when he was having conversations with them about how they were doing it and what kind of sales was it driving, he noticed nobody really could actually attribute direct revenue to the money that they were spending. It was a little bit of pretty fuzzy. So his mind was blown that these brands were spending millions and millions of dollars without really understanding how that was driving sales. Those two experiences that he had at Amazon just kind of rattled around inside his head for a while before he got the gumption to really start ProductWind during COVID times.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like COVID was a time of reinvention for all of us, but that origin story makes a lot of sense on his side. We have a lot of account specialists that I feel like would send him a thank you note of now that they can create promos instead of having to call people at Amazon directly. It's wild. Tim, I'm curious about your story as someone who joined the company a few years after it started. I know you have a long history in the industry, whether at Commerce IQ and Pattern and a lot of the sort of heavyweights in the industry. I'm curious, were you friends with Jason before? How did you get connected to ProductWind, and what sort of led you to join?
No, I was not. I didn't know who Jason was or ProductWind. I thought it was kind of a funny name and I didn't know what it was, but I started to talk to him. I realized very quickly that here's someone that's super smart and is solving a problem that I think if everyone were honest with themselves is a real problem, but not many people speak to. They are solving, initially the effort of the company was to help people solve a cold start, or when you're launching a new listing on Amazon, how difficult it can be to get relevancy inside of Amazon's algorithm. And I knew from just my experience in the space, in the e-commerce space, that this was something that every company had an issue with. One thing that I actually didn't fully appreciate until I got into it was how often and how many new products companies are launching. It's happening all the time. And so it was an issue that I knew everyone seemed to have, but I didn't know of anyone who was really hyper-focused on solving it. So I loved the niche that he was going after, and it had the benefit of really working. I knew some of their customers already, which was impressive because most of my career is working with the enterprise level, and they already had a few of the people that we knew in common, and they were able to vouch for how well it works. So I'm a small company guy. I love building companies, like you mentioned, whether it's Commerce IQ or 1010 Data or whoever else. And I took the jump, and honestly, I'm having maybe the most fun I've ever had. It's a lot of fun. So I'm thrilled to be here. Lucky to be part of the ProductWind team.
Yeah. And I know we'll get Ken to layer in some hype here in a second. But the thing that's interesting to me, we've talked to a few different folks on this show about like how you thread the needle between managed services and SaaS in the space, and like how you make that decision. We had Paul on from Merchant Spring, who started as managed services, pivoted to SaaS. You, of course, have been there at ProductWind and now Momentum, making that same decision of moving from primarily managed services company now to a full-blown product solution that we'll get into more in a second here. But I'm just curious where this change came from, what precipitated it, the role that you had involved in making that pivot. Can you walk us through a little bit of this sort of next phase of ProductWind?
Yeah, it's fully self-service. The platform or the software is fully self-service now. And what we noticed was it didn't matter. We work with a lot of companies of all sizes. We work with extremely small companies who are just getting going to the world's most recognizable brands, Fortune 50 companies for sure. And one of the things that we noticed over time is that it didn't matter if you were super premium headphones with a tier 1 consumer electronics brand, or you were a $5 cup of coffee from some mushroom coffee upstart, and everything in between. 80% of what everybody wanted was the exact same thing. There were just a few peripheral changes that people would want, but fundamentally, everyone's looking for the same thing, no matter where you are. Having literally done 1,000 of these, we pick up on an understanding of exactly what you need to do to satisfy that. So we said, why are we just manually reproducing this every time? So we got to work creating a piece of software that allows people to go in and just do it themselves. And we launched that self-service capability over the summer last year. So it's relatively new to the market. It's only 6 months old, but the adoption and the use has been far better than we expected or we hoped for. So that's how we did it, just following what our customers were showing us.
It's a nice full circle from Jason's early days of creating the self-service tool on Amazon. It's sort of cut and paste. That's great.
Yeah, he was like, I knew this was going to come around. He's like,
yeah, 10 years later.
That's his niche, self-service.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, for you, you see the value in this. We've already divulged that you are ProductWind's #1 fan. And you were instrumental in kind of framing up our go-to-market approach and our partnership with the self-service aspect with Momentum. Can you kind of talk about maybe the client needs that you saw around this? When you had conversations with Tim, you're like, this is it. We have to do this. What are some of the needs that you saw and some of the campaigns that you've seen have impact over time for our clients that really bring about the enthusiasm that we see from you on this?
Yeah, I'm becoming famous here at Acadia for my love of ProductWind. It's a genuine thing because I've seen the impact in the last few months of what ProductWind has done for our clients. Happy to talk a little bit more about that. But I think going back to kind of the beginning of this conversation, that ProductWind started back in 2020. I remember having an intro call with the ProductWind brand new team where there were only a handful of folks there at ProductWind. And I kind of stored it in the back of my mind as like, oh, this is a tool that can help brands launch a product on Amazon. And that's all I thought of it as. And every once in a while, we'd have clients that, like, hey, I'm struggling with this new product. And then that's, oh, yeah, let me just send you over to ProductWind. They're great. And then last year, Tim and I got on a call just to kind of talk about our partnership, which was very surface level at the time. And Tim kind of unveiled it and was just saying, like, let me show you what we're working on and what we have kind of evolved into. And it really did open my eyes to, yeah, ProductWind can help a brand launch a new product, which was the eye opener for me when we ran one ourselves of like how much of an impact it had. Yeah, it can do that. It can help a brand launch a new product, but it can also do so many other things with so many unique use cases, from getting a stalled hero ASIN back to its glory days, to taking a product that has gone under a lot of renovation and isn't maybe a 2.0 version, getting it up to a good review number versus where it was in the past. When Tim kind of unveiled that for me, that was definitely an eye-opener of saying, like, wow, so many of our clients could use this. And luckily, over the last few months, we've been able to deploy ProductWind for multiple clients from our side. And every client has had a different reason for using ProductWind, which I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that. But for us, one thing that I'm really, really excited about is we can identify a need quickly for our client and say, hey, ProductWind would be really great to help this product in XYZ fashion. And we can build it, run that campaign, and then adjust our Amazon strategy on the go every day from a PPC perspective. If we need to up our bidding on certain keywords, if we need to adjust our PDP to speak to a certain demographic of consumer, we get that real-time data from the ProductWind campaign, and then we can action it very quickly. So we're just really excited about what it allows us to do from a strategic standpoint with our clients.
I was just going to say, I think that's key. It's the power of the platform itself. And that's like the initial juice. And then you can just take it and extend it and run further with it to really play off the momentum and grow it even further to help that product grow. I did that. I got the brand name in there very organically.
Well done.
The drinking game can begin. You mentioned you've worked with ProductWind for really since the very early days, and sort of having one conception of what they could do and then now having a different conception. Where you sit now, having done several to dozens of these campaigns, I'm curious to get, Tim, your perspective here too, but let's start with Ken. Has the customer profile changed around this in terms of who you see benefiting from this? I imagine yes, so it's a leading question, but I'd like to understand what that looks like now in terms of where you see like, oh yeah, this is a hot brand that could really see benefits from this.
Yeah, it's not a scapegoat answer, but I was actually thinking, Tim and I, also a running joke, Tim and I meet every week now because there's so much opportunity to talk about how this can impact our clients. And he and I even spoke about this a while back. I was like, is there a case where ProductWind isn't a good idea? Is there a brand where it doesn't make sense? And I think that's one thing that is so exciting for me where I sit, where, like Julie mentioned at the top, my role is really focused on helping our clients grow on the channels that they're on and maybe the channels that they're not on yet and getting them to that point. And I see ProductWind as this opportunity for nearly every single one of our clients. Tim will have a couple of examples of where ProductWind might not be a great fit, but for me, the thing that gets me the most excited are just showing, maybe as a proof of concept for ProductWind with our clients is, hey, we have a product that we're thinking about launching. How do we launch this successfully? And then we can kind of pull out and we're like, well, we got some secret sauce here. We have this partnership where we can really give you an unfair advantage here on Amazon, which I think everyone's looking for. For brands launching new products, that's the big thing that gets me excited, because it's an ability to prove the powerfulness of the tool. And then we can go deeper later on because we've proved that ProductWind is so successful at launching a new product. Now we can maybe help other parts of your catalog out, or we can kind of go a little bit deeper through there. So that's where I get really, really excited for people launching new products in very competitive, tight categories where there's not a lot of room for error. That's where the ideal client fits. But I really do like the idea that it can service darn near every one of our clients.
The reason for that, the algorithm doesn't discriminate. It's pretty simple. The algorithm doesn't discriminate. So it doesn't really matter if you're a cheap product, an expensive product, if you're a well-known brand, if you're not a well-known brand, it's just looking for relevancy. That's it. One of the things that the ProductWind's good at, what we do is we market to the algorithm. The algorithm, there used to be a buyer and you could get the buyer to love you by doing different things. Same thing with an algorithm. You can get it to love you. The ProductWind platform is just designed to market to the algorithm, to train the product into loving you. And that's the goal. And that's why it works across a broad spectrum of use cases.
I'm interested in the product roadmap, and I want to get to that in a second. But there's the sort of two sides to this business, right? There's the kind of demand side and supply side. You need the brand that wants to establish a product, and then you also need the network of influencers that can help try that product, provide feedback, promote it, provide reviews, et cetera. As you go into new markets, new retailers, and that sort of thing, like, is that something that you have to sort of cultivate from scratch? It's like, how are we going to put this in Canada? How are we going to go into Walmart and that sort of thing? I know that you're in Walmart and we've leveraged for that, but I'm curious how you iterate it, if there are challenges with that or what that looks like.
Yeah, actually, the hardest part about entering a new market isn't really about sourcing the creators or any of that. It's about how do you handle the payment?
Okay, sure.
You pay people cross-border. That's the hard part, actually. So adding on different retailers. So today it's US. We were in Canada, but we had a problem with our payment processor. So we're out for now, but we'll be going back in shortly. I guess maybe that's part of the product roadmap sneak peek, right? But we'll be back in there. We'll be back in there later this year. UK, Germany, France. So it's actually not too hard to go anywhere. The hard part's finding a payment provider and handling the currency. That's the hardest part.
As a company that employs people all over the world, you'll never find a more empathetic ear than the payment services is perhaps the next product opportunity for Jason.
This is actually a push for Bitcoin.
Yeah. We need more podcasts for crypto, certainly. Okay, so let's just get into it then. The product roadmap component. I know that when you're starting a product, one of the challenges is the things you say no to, because there's so many opportunities in front of you. And you guys have rolled out a ton of features in the 6+ months this has gone live. I'm curious though, like, where you see this headed in 2025. Is it a function of more marketplace and retailer availability? Is it sort of doubling down on the capabilities on the existing? Like, where do you see the sort of high level roadmap rolling out in front of you?
That's a good question. There's a couple things. One, we want to focus in on making the software something that is even more intuitive and easy for people to use. So ease of use, even though I already think you can design and launch a campaign in literally less than 60 seconds, but we want to make it a little more obvious because along with that is just the data that's available and the insights around it. We want to make sure that people fully understand the impact that's happening with the increase in your share of voice and potentially decrease in your ACoS, et cetera. So we want to focus a lot more on the data and the context around what's being delivered and the ease of use. We'll be having a customer advisory board. And one of the things that I learned that I thought when I helped launch Commerce IQ back in 2018, one of the things I was so impressed with was how fast Commerce IQ listened to their customers. Go back to 2018, we would be on the phone. We would ask, remember the strategy there was, let's just do a 30-day pilot with somebody. They got in, they used the software. We check in on week 1 and 2, and they would complain about all the things they wish they could have. And Commerce IQ was so fast, we'd have our heads of product on those calls. They would take them back the requirements and we would fix it in that 30-day window. And people were so impressed. And that's how Commerce IQ really got a lot of traction, was just listening to the customer and building what they want. Well, in this case, we had a use case of 1,000 campaigns. So we knew pretty well what the common themes were to go to market. Now we've got those in market and things are working well. We know we want to improve the usability, the visibility of certain things, and we want to be able to provide more context, payback calculators, things of that nature right in the software. As far as what comes next after that, we're going to be sitting down with some of our larger customers here in the coming weeks, and we're going to hear from them. We're building this literally for our customers as they tell us what it is they need.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Cool. Very cool. Exciting times ahead.
Well, and for you, Ken, what are you excited about in the months ahead? Now we're in 2025. What do you have on your vision board as it relates to ProductWind and the opportunities that you see for our team to kind of help grow for our clients?
Yeah. My vision board is basically just all ProductWind stuff. So it's,
I know.
it's
I
great.
know.
Yeah. I was just even thinking as Tim was speaking here, the last 4 campaigns that we ran, like he said, it was so easy just for us to get in there, understand each client's specific needs. Like a few of them are CPG clients, a couple of them aren't. And each one of them had a specific need for ProductWind that they were wanting to utilize it and accomplish a goal. One, to launch new products, to regain trust and integrity on a product that got suppressed. They wanted to use ProductWind to push holiday items. And then another brand wanted to use ProductWind to get their 2.0 version of their product to a 4.5 star. They made some adjustments. They listened to feedback. They wanted to get their fair share of the market on Amazon. So for me, that just opened my eyes. The last 4 campaigns that we ran were so completely different. For me, what's so exciting is to have deeper conversations with their clients to understand what matters to them, what are their goals, what are they trying to achieve, and how we can use this secret weapon. Might be a bold way to describe ProductWind, but just this other tool in our belt here that we can leverage for our clients. And one thing that we're really, really excited about is I love seeing our account managers, our media folks, how much they are bought in on ProductWind because they've seen it work. What we're doing now is building out these processes to capture how successful was this ProductWind campaign and what do we do now? How does this adjust our overall 2025 strategy? How does this change our organic strategy from our storefront to our PDPs to the way that we're advertising and talking about our products? And I love that we can kind of keep all of that in-house and do that for our brands, and we can just be that one-stop shop for them. So for me, yeah, I just see our team using momentum and ProductWind in so many different ways. And that's where it's really exciting for me that each and every brand is going to use this and be able to use this in their own unique way. And we're just excited to be able to meet that need for the brands that we work with. I'm just excited I get to work with Tim and Sarah and the rest of the ProductWind crew on a recurring basis.
Yeah, I think this is definitely something. It's opened up like a strategy and tactic for brands that across the team, across both like our account managers on the organic side and our media managers on media. We're just bullish about its impact and what it can mean for brands trying to grow a specific sector, trying to launch a new product in their catalog, or to fix a star rating situation that is limiting their product. We've even seen brands have it like they've gotten good feedback and it's really made some product, it's informed product development fixes to their product based on these campaigns. The use cases are just innumerable and we're all pretty bullish about it. So the year of the ProductWind campaign is upon us. I really enjoyed the conversation today and I'm excited to see what comes ahead this year.
Yeah, it was great. I hope that sometime we can maybe do one of these live ones from a trade show we're all at and see what kind of answers we give when we're all in our second martini.
Yeah. If that's an invite down to San Diego, Tim, we'll take you up on it.
Yeah, down
be careful of what you
wish. Have you.
I think that was on Ken's vision board too.
Yeah.
There's ProductWind and a martini.
Yeah. We have this huge planning session. I need Ken here Thursday into Friday.
Okay.
February seem right, Ken? Like February sometime?
Yeah, we can do it once a month. That's all good. Yeah.
Okay, time to wrap it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.